Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Hey, it was a great weekend over the weekend against the Reds. What started out a little bit disappointing. The last time I talked to you, we were talking about a Dodgers loss turned into just a great weekend. I was very proud of Landon Knack. Hey, I thought it was very, very, very creative. We've talked many different times how the Dodgers, the magic number for their starting pitchers is 6 innings, right? The Dodgers are just simply fantastic. It's like they don't lose very often if their starting pitchers go at least 6 innings. Well, today with Landon Knack, and then we also talk about the Dodgers are creative with their bullpen games. They're creative with their piggyback type games. And the guy that is always in the middle of that is Ryan Yarbrough. So here is a new wrinkle that the Dodgers put into their pitching rotations. Today, they pull up Landon Knack, and we always talk about they like that up-down train. We saw J.P. Fireeisen go down. No big deal. We'll talk about that here in a minute. We saw Ricky Vanasco come up and then go back down. So the Dodgers like the creative, the piggyback games, the bullpen games, the up-down train to give their pitchers that extra day's rest, right? And so they figured out a formula to where if their starters go 6 innings, they win, right? So today, not a bullpen game, not really a piggyback game, but it was a game to where it might as well have been a piggyback game because combined, they mapped out exactly 6 innings between their starter, Landon Knack, and Ryan Yarbrough. So instead of Ryan Yarbrough being the bullpen guy to start or being the piggyback guy, they let Landon Knack be the bulk inning guy. Ryan Yarbrough, the plan for him obviously was finish up whatever Landon Knack can't get through to get to 6 innings. They had 2 different pitchers mapped out to get to that 6 innings, and Landon Knack ended up giving them 4 2/3. And so Ryan Yarbrough didn't have to go quite as long, which was just simply brilliant. This is an organization that thinks through all these details, similar to like Daniel Hudson pitches on back-to-back nights. Well, the last time he did that, last time he was in Oklahoma City, he pitched in back-to-back nights. There's stuff like this that the Dodgers do behind the scenes all the time that is just simply so effective. And I'll tell you another thing that was real obvious. Of course, the Dodgers have better talent than the Reds. But if you watch the Reds, man, I mentioned this on the show Friday morning, was that they just simply have no plan. I mean, Elly De La Cruz, yes, he steals a lot of bases. Yes, he's a freak in nature in terms of a lot of the things that he does. And I know a lot of Dodgers fans, hey, let's go get Elly De La Cruz, this and that. And if they got him, he would probably have to change a lot of things because the Reds team, I mentioned this, they have no plan at the plate. I mean, it's just see the ball and hit it. I mean, and the Dodgers were so brilliant in taking advantage of exactly what the Reds don't do well, taking advantage of the fact that the Reds don't have a plan. And let me kind of explain that, how they did that. James Paxton on Friday night, very heavy high 4-seam, very heavy knuckle curve. And he was in the strike zone with both of them, so he was a big-time north and south type pitcher. Now, why is that effective against a team like the Reds that doesn't have a plan? Because that knuckle curve is going to tumble, and the Reds are going to swing at it, and it's going to look like a strike. It's going to tumble out of the strike zone. And then another thing that defeats teams that, in my opinion, don't have a big-time plan at the plate is if you throw them fastballs up in the zone, because they're not going to have the discipline to lay off of it. We all know if you played this game at all at any kind of decently high level, when you get that fastball, it's closer to, that's up in the zone, right? It's closer to your eyes, and so it just looks so good. So you swing at it, you swing right through it. James Paxton had really good carry to his ball, and so he was able to get the Reds to go after that high fastball, to go after the tumbling knuckle curve. Now, I understand that they did hit a home run on the knuckle curve, and to be honest with you, or actually one of the things that was interesting about it, he only threw 5 cutters the entire evening, and one of those 5 was actually one of the home runs. So, yeah, the 4-seam fastball for James Paxton was simply fantastic. He had control and command. The knuckle curve also was very good. His 4-seam, the fastball was in the zone 59% of the time. Knuckle curve, as much as it tumbled, was in the strike zone 59% of the time. So when James Paxton is a strike thrower like he has been his entire career, like he has been the last couple of outings for the Dodgers. This is exactly why Austin and I have been saying for a long time, this is the guy we would have went and got at the trade deadline, because the Dodgers are going to put a game plan together that's going to beat the opponent that James Paxton has the ability to defeat. So very north-south heavy for James Paxton. Then on Saturday, because the Reds really don't make a whole lot of adjustments, and they really don't have that the same deal I'm talking about, really don't have that big-time plan to them, Walker Buehler is north-south. Guess what Walker Buehler was throwing? The same four-seam, the same knuckle curve. Now, the beauty to Walker Buehler, the reason why if you started the playoffs tomorrow, Walker Buehler would get the start over James Paxton, is because if you look at what Walker Buehler was able to do, he was also able to throw a cutter and a slider. So Walker Buehler, if you look what he did, he was able to also pitch east and west. So yes, like Paxton, he had the high-riding four-seam to get the swing and miss up in the zone. He had the tumbling change and knuckle curve to get the swing and miss, to make it look like a strike, tumble it out of the zone. But then he also was able to pitch west with this sinker that turned a little bit right and his cutter combo that turned left. So Walker Buehler, Dodgers fans, this outing for him should be one that puts you through the roof excited. Now, hey, I get it. You shouldn't get too high or too low. It's one outing out of however many. But I'm telling you, this was a big-time outing. He pitched north and south with the four-seam knuckle curve combo for a strike. He pitched east and west with the sinker cutter combo, 4 strikes. And not only did he throw strikes, he commanded the zone. This was literally his exact same outing he had in his last rehab outing in Oklahoma City. But instead of being 94, he was 97. The Walker Buehler that we saw for many different reasons that go beyond results, the Walker Buehler that we saw on Saturday was absolutely big time. No doubt about it. No questions about it. 100% big time. So, hey, we mentioned, hey, let's go get Ellie De La Cruz. I'm telling you, that guy would drive Dodgers fans nuts, because he swings at pitches he shouldn't swing at. There's no discipline to it. Other teams can get him out. And from that aspect, the Dodgers, we get frustrated when guys don't execute properly in their own way. So it was just interesting to see how that much talent is just kind of still so raw, and the Dodgers were able to take advantage of it. So it was a great weekend. Hey, we have a great lobby checking in right now. Roy Estrada, good evening to you. Good evening to you. As always, Pages clutch again. Yes, Andy Pages mentioned several different times. This is a guy, if you go back to my high velo that I put out on him, because of the way that he's able to tilt out over the plate, he's able to get a negative bat angle through the zone. So he's able to get the ball in the air without lifting his hands. And because of that, he covers the plate. That tilt out over the plate allows him to cover the east-west part of the plate. And then the way that he tilts his barrel with that negative bat angle allows him to take his hands flat to the zone and cover it north and south. So when you're a hitter that can cover the plate north and south with your bat angle, east and west with the way that you tilt out over the plate, you're a hitter that can't be beat with any pitch. Now it's a matter of making adjustments, making sure you're swinging at the right pitches. And so that's why we've said, yes, Andy Pages does run hot and cold. But from a physical perspective, he's able to cover north and south, east and west. So the adjustments for him, combined with his immense physical talent, should be easier than most rookies. And I think you're seeing that right now. So totally agree, Roy. Pages was clutch. Again, Ela Shiva, good evening. Landon Knack was great today. Banda was nice to see. Gregory, our moderator, is in the house. What's up, Casey? What's up to you, Gregory? Good evening, Craig. Thank you so much for joining. Ela Shiva. Vesia looks much improved over last season. I would say he looks much improved over the beginning of the season last year. Keep in mind, Ela Shiva, that after July, he was elite as far as not just a left-handed reliever. Go back to his numbers just as a reliever all in all. So, yes, Alex Vesia, you can see the confidence growing in him. And, man, when you can have that lefty that that you can start trusting like that. By the way, I want to congratulate Victor Gonzalez. He's doing very well with the Yankees as well. But when you have that lefty you can trust like that has Major League experience, that is simply fantastic. Ela Shiva, Reds are in last place. Craig Osterberg can't hit the curveball. Dr. De La Cruz, no doubt, because he doesn't know which ones to swing at. He doesn't have a plan. So when I say plan, you say, okay, well, Walker Buehler throws a knuckle curve. Well, what tunnel does that knuckle curve need to come out of? So, like if you see palm right there, that's fastball or changeup, right? So, you know, that tells you if you see when the pitcher releases the pitch, you see their palm, you know it's either fastball or changeup. That's why the changeup's such a great pitch, because it looks exactly like the fastball. You see the palm with the changeup the same way you do fastball. If you see the side of the hand, that ball's going to go sideways, right? Whether you call it a cutter, a slider, sweeper, whatever. If you see the back of the hand, that ball's going to tumble, right? So when I say De La Cruz doesn't have a plan, he's not seeing the ball out of the pitcher's hand. And when I say seeing the ball out of the pitcher's hand, I don't mean just looking at the ball. I mean seeing how the ball is coming out of the pitcher's hand. Is it coming out like a curveball with the back of his hand? Is it coming out like a fastball or change with the palm? Or is it coming out like something that's going to move sideways with a cutter or a sweeper because you see the side of his hand? Or are you seeing the pronation there, right? So he's not seeing that, because you need to see that, because like if you see the curveball, the back of the hand for the curveball, then the next thing you need to do is you need to figure out, okay, where did that ball come out of his hand, and what tunnel points do those situations where it comes out of his hand end up being strikes? He does none of that. He just sees the ball. He doesn't see spin really, and he just swings at it. So that's why he doesn't hit curveballs very well. And just watching a major league hitter and watching major league hitters all in all, just simply not have a plan in terms of how to identify pitches, how to identify spin, how to identify tunnel points, which ones to swing at, which ones not to. Honestly, hey, it was great the Dodgers won the last 3 games, but from a pure baseball perspective, honestly, it was kind of frustrating to watch the lack of discipline and lack of plan from them, because I mean it was awesome to see Walker Buehler take advantage of it. Also Landon Knack and obviously James Paxton too. Hey, wanted to remind you, the last 20 minutes of this show is going to be down on the farm. We have a lot of exciting action. Josue De Paula hit 3 home runs this weekend. Matter of fact, I think he hit 4 home runs in 3 games in a row. He had 2 home runs on Saturday. Kendall George keeps just absolutely killing it. We have a great outing from Justin Robleski. Hey, we're going to show you some great film on Dalton rushing and why he is such a great leader. Also going to show you Diego Cartaya throwing a runner out at second base. We have Alex Freeland on the docket for Down on the Farm tonight. Chris Newell, who leads the Midwest League in home runs. We've got him coming up as well, Chris Campos. So we have a great Down on the Farm segment that's coming up the last 20 minutes of this live show. So make sure and tell all your friends, share this video out, get them over here, because we're going to talk a lot of Dodgers baseball and their big win, their 3 wins over the Reds over the weekend, but we're also going to talk a lot of prospects. Hey, what a crowd we have logging in. I'm Hero. Good evening. Green was nasty. Future Dodger, hopefully. Yep. Roy Estrada need payback against the D-backs. I would agree with that. The D-backs are not as good as I thought they would be this year, but hey, that happens, right? Okay, John, that's their problem, not ours. Johnny Owen, thank you so much for joining. Johnny always brings his A-game. De La Cruz, since the first game, 9 strikeouts, looked extraordinary, early ordinary. Yes, that's what happens when you have great talent that does not have a plan. But if he came to the Dodgers, he would have a plan. So you'd take that talent, you'd give him a plan, then you would have an incredible player. How about this? I mean, this is kind of what the Reds do, right? They have a base open, and the Dodgers pinch hit Will Smith for Austin Barnes, and you walk Will Smith to pitch to 2 Hall of Famers. Now, I understand. There's no good decision to make there, right? I mean, Will Smith's a great hitter, but you're walking Will Smith to pitch to 2 Hall of Famers back-to-back, Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani. And by putting Will Smith on, now you have to pitch to him. So Otani knew he was going to get a pitch to hit. He knew what pitch he was going to get. and got the game winner, his first game winner, or Kirsten Watson say, in 4 years. And don't you know this culture of the Dodgers, the information that he gets every game, the fact that he's around other great players. So Will Smith helped set up Shohei Ohtani. You know, we always talk about the Ohtani effect, how Ohtani being so good is making everybody else around him better because, one, you don't want to pitch to Ohtani, so you give other people better pitches, that kind of thing. But still then, you know, I mentioned it with Max Muncy, you don't want to be that guy that's substandard on a team that has Shohei Ohtani on it, that has the amount of spotlight on it. That makes you work harder. That makes you want to be better because you want to live up to the standard that a team that Shohei Ohtani is on. It's just awesome to see with the Ohtani effect like that, Will Smith and him having the respect that he got today, got Shohei Ohtani hittable pitches, so it was in reverse, and then Ohtani came through. That was simply fantastic. Is Yamamoto pitching tomorrow or Stone? Did Dave Roberts say? I did not hear Roy. As soon as the game was over, I started putting my game notes together, and I started recording my On the Farm segment, so I did not catch any of the post game other than a few comments from Shohei Ohtani. So, hey, maybe somebody in the chat, Roy has a question. Is it Yamamoto or Stone tomorrow? Nando 390, thank you so much for joining. What a wonderful lobby we have joining tonight. De La Cruz and Green Future Dodgers, yep. Okay, Cole, I need the Dodgers to sweep Arizona, bury them now, make them sellers and not buyers. Yeah, that's a good point because with the wild card, man, there's less obvious sellers at this point. So, yeah, that would be a good thing. But I think they're young enough. I don't think they would be buyers anyways. I think they're a team that would try to just get some momentum to finish the season with to set up next season. But, again, with the wild card, they're good. They have talent, and it just takes a couple of good streaks to get back in that race. So we'll see how that works out. Justin Lamas, thank you so much for joining. Any thoughts about Arizona using a lefty opener tomorrow? Ohtani and Freeman don't struggle against lefties. And that's a great point, Justin. One of the big advantages to the opener, the reason why it was originally created was so that the other team, before anybody really knew what the opener deal was, of course, teams have caught on to it now. So you would see that a team starting a lefty, right? Then you'd put her in a right-handed dominated lineup. And then once they put in the right-handed dominated lineup, then you'd put in a right-hander for the second inning on. So now as a pitcher, you have all the good matchups. But then teams caught on to that. So now, as Justin's saying, to have guys that can hit both right-handed and left-handed. So even if the other team tries to do the tricky situation where they start the opener to get your matchups bad, it doesn't matter because both Ohtani and Freeman can hit lefties. So, yeah, as far as my thoughts on using a lefty opener tomorrow, my thoughts are it's kind of like when the other team has to run trick plays to beat you. That tells you they don't think that's straight up. They're as good as you. Go out and play Dodgers baseball. We say it all the time. This is a team that if you play as well as you're capable, doesn't matter what the other team does. You're going to win. So, hey, we have, again, just a wonderful crowd. We are already over 100 in the lobby. What a fantastic group of Dodgers dogs. Reminder, we're going to have our Down the Farm segment to finish this show tonight. So make sure and share this out and get as many people over as you can. Why was Yamamoto not pitching today? And he's not scheduled for tomorrow. I don't have an answer to that. As soon as the game was over, Ela Shiva, I apologize. I'm not the greatest with news stuff like that. I'm more of an analyst. And so I immediately started diving into putting this show together. And so I actually don't have that information for you. I apologize, but I will get on the JOB and what I'll do this, Shiva, when we get off of here during the Down the Farm, I will get a hold of my contacts that would know. I will find out and I will leave a comment or a chat if I get the information in time before we get off on this show. So, hey, Mr. Seabat, Ohtani's for Prime Minister of Japan 2026. Yep. Yes. So Justin Lama says, yes, Yamamoto pitches tomorrow. Roy Estrada, Madres killing the Braves. Yeah, the Braves. Hey, we said it. They were unimpressive when I saw them. And it wasn't like, hey, they're just playing bad. It just looked like they have guys that have holes in their swings and are just not as good as a lot of people thought they were going to. Johnny Ellen Casey, is Peyton Smith, Trey Sweeney, and Dalton Rushing too steep of a price for Bo Bichette? I'm assuming you mean Peyton Martin. I saw that comment the other day, and I'm assuming you mean Peyton Martin, Trey Sweeney, Dalton Rushing for Bo Bichette. The answer to that is no. When you have a guy that you like, a Mookie Betts, a Freddie Freeman, a Tyler Glasnow, absolutely you give up your prospects to go get a guy like that. Now, you might say, hey, Bo Bichette's not hitting the ball as well, blah, blah, blah. Fine. But I promise you when he comes to the Dodgers, he would, because he's going to get the best instruction. He's going to get the best information. And then again, he's going to be in a clubhouse to where he's going to look around and go, hey, there's Mookie Betts. There's Shohei Ohtani. There's Freddie Freeman. I better get my crap together because I don't want to be the dead leg in this relay, right? So you have that pressure put on you, and that brings out the best in people like Bo Bichette. And, hey, I love Dalton Rushing. I love Peyton Martin. I love Trey Sweeney. But if you have a chance to go get a Bo Bichette, you do it. Absolutely, hands down, unequivocally, 1,000% you go get a Bo Bichette. I don't even think there's any question to it. Now, the question would be, is that on brand for this Dodgers organization? Absolutely not. I don't think the organization would do it. I personally would, but I don't think it would be on brand for this organization. Roy Estrada says, Ela Shiva, I hope we don't get bad news and waiting on more tests. De La Cruz is a major problem. He can't steal first base. Yeah, that's Mr. Seabad. Hey, we have a wonderful crowd. Yamamoto is starting according to the Dodgers app, and that is from Craig Osterberg. Roy Estrada, I'm just asking because he did not look happy yesterday, and Dave did not say why he was removed and when we should see him again. They are quiet on Yamamoto unless someone in the chat heard anything. I have not. Zal Badin, everybody has a plan until they get beamed. Yeah, no doubt about that. Hey, Cole, actually, my chat just skipped on me. I'm going to go back down to the bottom. Good evening, Kenny Chung. Thank you so much for joining. BC says Bichette is young, will rebound, even if this is an off year. And again, I think he would excel as soon as he got to the Dodgers. A good point here by Bofa D's. Dalton Rushing has no place in the Dodgers for several years unless he can play third or left field, or unless Will Smith can play third base or something like that. Will Smith is a good athlete. By the way, if you watched the Tulsa Drillers game today like I did, you listen to the golden pipes of Dennis Higgins, the play-by-play. Him and Bruce Howard do a wonderful job. He mentioned, hey, as I've watched Dalton Rushing, and keep in mind that Dennis Higgins has been doing minor league baseball forever. John Miller, several legendary Hall of Fame Major League broadcasters will tell you he's one of the best in the business. He's seen it all. One of his comments was, hey, as you see Dalton Rushing, you realize he's a better athlete than, you think about his power and how hard he hits the ball and his hit tool. You don't realize as you watch him, he's such a good athlete. So Dalton Rushing is easily a good enough athlete to change positions, even if it would be third base. So is Will Smith. So if the Dodgers value Dalton Rushing's hit tool like we think they do, then they can pivot, they can transition, and they can do. But yes, he is a hell of a trade piece, no doubt about that, because he has the hit tool, he's a good athlete, and he's young, and all of that. Mr. Classic, Fireisen was only in games the Dodgers were leading in. So JP Fireisen, why did he go down? Because the Dodgers like that up-down train, and they needed a fresh arm. So as soon as they need another fresh arm to have a guy that they can bring in that hasn't been on the Major League roster for the last week or so, that's when they'll bring JP Fireisen up. We said this all off season. We thought it was going to happen with Alex Vesia as well. This is exactly why the Dodgers have held on to JP Fireisen. One, he's had Major League success, so they like that. But two, they can use him because he has minor league options. The Dodgers can use JP Fireisen to be part of that up-down train to do exactly what you saw today, to keep arms fresh so they can be creative with either the bullpen games, the piggyback games, or like they did today, the combo games with Landon Knack and Ryan Yarbrough, and they can keep bringing in new guys. So to have a guy that has Major League experience and has options for the way that this Dodgers front office works is like a bonanza. That checks every box for what this organization likes. And so from that aspect, JP Fireisen, first of all, as of late, first of all, he's been good. And second of all, he's allowed the Dodgers the flexibility that they love. So that's a big bonus for the Dodgers. Jerry Hunter, thank you so much for tuning in. The Braves had too many players have career years last year. That's it right there. I think that's an elite comment. I think you're exactly right. I think they have guys that are good players that had career years last year that made it look a little bit better maybe than it actually is. So Ela Shiva, why was Feyereisen moved to AAA? Because he has options, and that's why they kept him around. They were always going to do this with him, and now they can keep fresh arms moving back and forth. And by the way, they have this gigantic lead. I haven't looked. Last time I checked, it was like 13 games in the NL West. They know they're going to win it. No, not 13 games. They're 14 games over 500. I believe it's an 8 or 9 game lead in the NL West now. Don't quote me on that. I haven't looked in the last day or two. But so while they have this big lead, the reason why JP Feyereisen is getting sent down to Ela Shiva is to keep every arm that they have fresh, to make sure that nobody gets worn down. So again, you're making sure and setting things up perfectly as you move on, and and you reduce the amount of risk for injury as possible. Mr. Seabad, based on advice from my financial advisor, I'm selling my Ohtani bobblehead for $100 or $10,000 on eBay. Yeah, good decision there. Hey, Matty Man 5 says overrated is the word I would use. I think Matty Man's either talking about De La Cruz or the Braves. I'm going backwards at this, so I'm not exactly sure. Hey, John Blaine, curious about the rules around bringing prospects up and down. So pitchers have to wait 15 days. Position players have to wait 10 days. So if you send a guy down, they have to be off the 26 for 10 days. If you send a pitcher down, it's 15 days. And used to, you could send them up and down as many times you want. About 2 years ago, they put in the rule that you can only do that, I think, 5 times a year now. So you get 5 times to bring a guy up and down. And once you send them down for a position player, they have to stay down for 10 days. For a pitcher, it's 15 days to make sure the Dodgers aren't abusing, and organizations like that, abusing that up-down train too much. Now, for each player, as far as the options, every player, once they get put on a 26-man roster, they have exactly 3 option years. Now, those option years don't have to be back-to-back. So, like a guy like Gavin Lux still has option years, although he's been in the major leagues the last couple of years that he's been in the major leagues. So you have 3 total years, and they don't have to be back-to-back. So once those 3 years are up, at that point, like a Chris Taylor, you don't have any minor league options left. For the club to send Chris Taylor down to the minor leagues, they would have to DFA him. Then he would have to clear waivers. Then they would assign him to a minor league contract or to the minor league assignment. The contract doesn't change. The assignment's the only thing that changes. They would assign him to a minor league contract. Then he would have to accept it. But in a situation like Chris Taylor that has, I believe it's 6 years of service, either whether it be minor leagues, like Nabil Krismat, he has that 6 years of minor league service, so he was able to choose free agency every time he gets DFA'd. Okay, so Chris Taylor would either accept the assignment or choose to become a free agent, like Nabil Krismat has done. Now, I'm on the bandwagon that the Dodgers need to keep Chris Taylor on the 26-man roster or straight out release him. Do not DFA Chris Taylor. And the reason is I don't think he's going to get traded because I don't think any other organization would take on that contract. And I think he would probably accept that assignment because if nobody's going to want to trade for him to take on his contract, then why would they pick him up in free agency to take on that exact same contract, right? So I don't think free agency is, even though he's going to be eligible for free agency, I don't think anybody's going to offer him in free agency. So I think he would be left with accepting a minor league assignment. And at that point, right now you have James Outman, Drew Avens, Ryan Ward, Andre Lipsius, Chris Owings. You have all these guys in your AAA outfield. At the AA level, then you have Austin Gauthier, who played left field today, who needs every day at bats. At the AA level, you have Austin Beck, who is really flourishing. You have Jose Ramos, who has struggled with the swing and miss and needs to have continual at bats every single day. Chris Newell's at the high A level. He's been absolutely mashing. You also have guys like Brendan Davis. So you have all of these minor league guys that have to get everyday at bats. So if Chris Taylor gets DFA'd and reassigned to the minor leagues, whose playing time do you want him to take? Do you want him to take it? Do you want him to take AAA at bats away from James Outman? Do you want him to take AAA at bats away from Ryan Ward or Drew Avens? Or if Miguel Vargas gets sent back down? I don't want Chris Taylor taking away everyday at bats from the guys in the minor leagues at this point. I think the Dodgers are better off leaving him as depth, leaving him as a bench piece where he's not taking away at bats from anybody. And then whenever you have a chance to put him in as a defensive replacement, do it. Either that or just straight up release him and say, hey, it's been great, Chris. By the way, this is a celebration. Chris Taylor is family to the Dodgers. He is part of the Dodgers. I've seen it from day one. I saw almost all of his games in Oklahoma City. What's happened with Chris Taylor is a celebration. Now, I know right now it's kind of sad to watch. It's frustrating. He's not producing this and that. But the Chris Taylor story with the Dodgers is a total success. It is a celebration. And so, yeah, you want to win the World Series, and so everything needs to be performance-based. But at the same time, I don't have a problem with taking a guy that's family like Chris Taylor, putting him on the end of the bench, letting him be a part of the Major League Baseball club, knowing he's not taking at bats away from anybody. He's helping you when he can, and letting him go about it from that aspect. I think that's the best way to go about it for Chris Taylor. As far as the James Outman situation, hey, it's a deal to where if you go back to my message in the offseason, the one thing that I've always said about, well, I've said many different things, but if I have a criticism of Dave Roberts, my biggest one would be that he is simply a fantastic process manager, seeing the big picture, playing the big picture, being patient with the big picture. But when it comes down to being a results-based manager, I think that's where he's failed. And I think that's why the playoffs and then also close games have been a struggle. So I have said many different times in the offseason, the Dodgers need to become more results-based, less process-oriented, because they have a chance to win multiple World Series. So if I'm going to make that statement, and then they're going to move Gavin Lux off a shortstop to second base because they're being results-oriented, and then they're going to option James Outman down because he is struggling. He looks lost at the plate. I can't defend that. And because the Dodgers are acting in a way that is results-oriented. As a Dodgers fan, they are fixing the number one problem that I had in the offseason. And so although it hurts like hell to see this happen to James Outman, you guys know how high I am on James Outman, how much I like James Outman, not just the player, but James Outman, the person, how much this hurts. As a Dodgers fan, I am so excited that they are in the results mode, because with the roster they have, if they stay in this results mode right here, this results method, this organization is going to win multiple World Series. Now, having said that, okay, it sucks. It hurts. Likely a lot of it's not fair. I mean, Will Smith, if you look at his very first year in 2019 and then starting 2020, he had the exact same stretch that James Outman's having. The exact same stretch. So is it fair that what's happening to James Outman is happening? I don't know. That's debatable. But honestly, it doesn't matter. It did. This is a club that's results-based. I've been wanting that forever. And because of that, now it's up to James to go down to Oklahoma City, put on his big boy shoes, pull up his bootstraps, and go kick some ass. And do exactly what Andy Pages did and hit and play so well that everybody in the org goes, you know what, we can't deny this guy. We got to bring him up and become the starting center fielder for the playoffs. That's in front of you, James Outman. Go do it. That's up to you. You're capable of doing it. Whether what happened to you is fair or not doesn't matter. It happened. Now, the only thing that matters is what are we going to do about it? Let's get our boots on. Let's get to work and let's get this thing figured out, and let's get back to the major leagues, and let's make it happen because you are totally capable of it. So that's where I'm at on that situation. Hey, Mr. Classic says Muncy has worked so hard on defense to get where he's at third base. I totally agree with that. Mr. Classic, more than the wins, just want to see the Dodgers not give up and play every at-bat, at least having fun as a team. Hey, Jerry Hunter says trade Muncy, Taylor, Knack, other prospect for Arenado. Muncy hit below Mendoza line last 3 years. I'm not on the Arenado train. I don't know. ESPN says Stone is starting tomorrow, says Ela Shiva. Yeah, and we go back down to the bottom. What a wonderful crowd we have in. Hey, Ela Shiva, I agree that Outman's bat needs adjustment. Big lights are too bright for James Outman. That is 1,000% incorrect. I don't mean to be argumentative, but I'm going to get argumentative with that. James Outman has always performed under the big lights. This had nothing to do with him getting bright-eyed under the big lights. I mean, if he was going to do that, he would have done it. Okay, so you come into the major leagues, right, or the professional baseball, you got to prove yourself at the rookie level. Then if you do that, then you get to move up to the single A level. If you prove yourself there, then you got to go to the high A level, prove yourself there. If you prove yourself there, then you got to prove yourself at double A. Then you got to prove it at triple A. Then you got to prove it at the major leagues. He did that every single time. He proved himself at every level. And he's had a period here where he's had 100 at-bat period that wasn't good. It's as simple as that. It has nothing to do with I'm not even going to listen to that crap. That's the crap I'm not going to listen to about James Outman. Hey, man, if you want to talk about he's struggling, this and that, fine. But the lights are too bright crap, get out of here with that. I'm not listening to that. Outman was all right last season. Yeah, so, I mean, just stop with that. And if you want to make any kind of personal comments about the young man, that's not going to happen either. Hey, I'm defending the organization here. I just went through that entire thing, but again, that's where I'm at on that. Hey, as fans, Roy says, we can't get sentimental. We have to play our best performers. Does not matter if you're a future Hall of Famer. If you're not reliable, take a seat. I'm with you, Roy. And again, that's why I'm defending the organization as fiercely as I am here, because they have to be in results mode. They can't be in. Now, there's a large amount of auxiliary things like the JP Fireeisen deal, bringing up Landon Knack, all this to keep people healthy, the bullpen games that are process-oriented. But basically, the decisions on roster moves has to be results-oriented. So we move on from there. And every situation is different, says Mr. Classic. Totally agree there. Mr. Seabat, CT3 gets DFA'd and gets signed by the Phils, Braves, D-backs for the playoff run. You okay with that? I don't think anybody would pick him up. And yes, I would be 1,000% okay with that, 100%. Brett Rose, best 26 on the roster come playoffs, no exceptions. I agree, but the Dodgers are going to look at it from a experience perspective. That's just what they're going to do. Because the Dodgers don't look at, hey, what is it at this moment? They look at future projections, and what veterans do is they give them a higher floor to predict, well, no matter what, no matter how bad it gets, this is the floor for this veteran. We don't know what the floor is for a prospect, and so that was a lot of why they choose veterans over that. And I get it. It's frustrating for me as a prospects guy because I want the best guys out there, and I believe in these guys, but that's just how it is. Hey, Mr. Classic says we didn't have Shohei Ohtani being paid $700 million when Will Smith had that stretch. That is 1,000% correct. 1,000% correct, Mr. Classic. That is an elite comment, and that's why I'm saying right now my message is this organization has to be in results mode, not process mode, and for that perspective, you either perform or see ya. That's kind of how it's gone with this roster. Yes, KC baseball is a business and a tough one at that. No doubt about it, Matty Man 5. And again, it's up to James to go down to AAA Oklahoma City and get it figured out and do exactly what Andy Pages did and convince the organization that he is ready to come back. Celebration is right. He got away with the money. Straight up forgot how to hit a baseball. Denver is cooking Minnesota in basketball. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go back down to the bottom. Hey, Roy Estrada says Jay Hay is the real deal. He always has good at-bats. He plays good defense as well. We'll see. I'm not sold on that, Roy. I think he's a marginal major league player. I think he's okay on defense. I think he had a good season last year. I think he is awesome in the clubhouse. We'll see about the offense I hope you're right. I totally hope you're right with Jason Hayward. I'm not as convinced about that. But the good thing about it is it's kind of like Tio Hernandez, and Coach Holt said the other day. He doesn't have to be great. He just kind of has to do what he's doing right now. Hit a home run every now and then, get a base hit, play good defense, because you have so many other great players around him, and he's not going to have to play every day. When he does play, he's not a centerpiece. So he doesn't have to be great. He just has to be good. That was the thing with Outman. Outman just had to be okay. He just couldn't be what he was for the last at least 75, 80 at-bats. Okay, hey, I agree with Casey on Jay Hay. We'll see. And again, the advantage he has, and the advantage the Dodgers have, is that he does not have to be great. Hey, Craig says players make adjustments in the minors all the time to get back to the majors. I get to see that all the time. I got to see it with Chris Taylor, got to see it with Max Muncy, got to see it with Gavin Lux. Remember, got to see it with Austin Barnes in 2019 when he was struggling like this. So I get to see that all the time. And it's a situation, I get it. James Outman's going to go down. The pressure's going to be off of him. That snowball's not going to be rolling downhill anymore. So it's going to feel like he gets a fresh start, and he's going to get to go down there and do things with a clean slate. So I understand that, and I can't necessarily now. I think Jason Hayward said it the other day. Hey, I can't make the adjustments I need to make at a minor league level. They have to be at a major league level. I'm on that boat. I felt like Will Smith in his situation when this period happened to him. I felt like the only way that he was going to get past that was at a major league level. I feel that same way about James Outman. But again, don't get me wrong. I'm not disagreeing at all with the move that the organization made. But we'll see how that goes. Hey, 424 Maki says Lux is starting to figure it out. Outman and CT3 being left behind. Yeah, we've already seen that with the Outman DFA situation. So, yeah, some more of the notes that I had. How about Michael Grove? Hey, I like the fact that how many times has Dodgers Dawgs said that Michael Grove needs to be a one-inning reliever. If you let him, like everybody else is, I mean, let him give the same opportunities that everybody else has had. And since he's become a one-inning reliever, I know Blake Harris tweeted this out the other day, and I think Chad Moriyama did as well, that he actually has been really fantastic. Now, I know he gave up the walk-off the other night, which wasn't fun, but he has been really, really good as a one-inning reliever. So that's really exciting for me. I'm very proud of the organization and Dodgers fans for continuing to give him a chance to prove himself. So, hey, it wasn't, like an offensive explosion or anything this weekend. Michael Craywick, good evening. Hey, we have a wonderful crowd. Remember in spring training, we fans were hard on Lux, and now he's raking. Yep. Cole says even as good as the Dodgers have been, they have not all been producing at the same time. The league should be scared when it all comes together. And I think the Dodgers are doing that, some of that intentionally, by keeping the roster in influx. They're making sure that they don't peak way too early, right? So you settle the roster in with maybe 3/4 of the season gone, you let it settle in, and then you keep it consistent from there, and then you hope you peak at the right time. I really think, now that may be a little bit too tinfoilish, but I really think that's what the organization is doing. So Grove had back-to-back nights that he pitched and had zeros in both nights. Daniel Hudson pitched in back-to-back nights. His ERA is down to 2.84. Fireisen through the ninth and then got optioned. And again, that's so they can keep fresh arms going back and forth. On Saturday, they had 6 hits and 4 runs. So it wasn't an offensive explosion. One thing I do like about the way the offense played on Friday and Saturday was that you scored almost as many runs as you had hits, which means that you're getting runners moved over. They were decent with runners in scoring position. Hit 300 with runners in scoring position on Friday or on Saturday, actually. I believe they were 1 for 4 on Friday. So something around 4 for 14 Friday and Saturday with runners in scoring position. So it wasn't like an offensive explosion, but it was efficient in terms of scoring runs per hit that you got. And then on Sunday, Landon Knack, 4 innings, 4 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, and 1 walk. I love the combo between him and Yarbrough to get to the 6 innings. Jason Hayward, we talked about him being back. Talked about how I feel like Chris Taylor needs to continue to be depth. And Anthony Banda, I'm not going to lie, I don't know anything about him. Nick Ramirez, don't know anything about those guys. I was glad to see Anthony Banda get the win today. I will say, though, seeing Alec Gamboa throw in Sacramento, I just wish the Dodgers, they don't have any more proof that Nick Ramirez or Anthony Banda is going to do good at the major league level than they would with any of their prospects. I just wish they would take some of their left-handed prospects and actually give them the opportunities instead of going out and getting major league guys that they just signed and throw in there and leapfrogging everybody. Again, that's not a slight against Nick Ramirez or Anthony Banda, and congratulations for Anthony Banda for getting the win today. That's a great deal, but I do wish that was Alec Gamboa on the mound instead, or John Rooney, or even a Steven Gonsalves or somebody like that. But hey, we're going to cover it in the on the farm, down the farm segment too. Drew Pomeranz threw well today. Pomeranz has over 800 major league innings, and he is with AAA Oklahoma City right now. I think he's going to get an opportunity sooner rather than later. Bob Student 10 says Outman needs the reps. AAA is best for him right now. CT3 is a big question mark. We really need the on-base percentage from the 7 through 9 lineup. Give something for Mookie to clean up, no doubt about the 7 through 9. And I think a lot of times you could say 6 through 9. Yes, we also discussed Lux had reached his ceiling. Hey, if May is healthy, he can be another Gagne. Yeah, that's a good point. We'll see. I'm not convinced that May will be healthy enough to give the Dodgers time to explore that runway to see exactly what he's going to be able to do. Hey, Brett Rose, I love the way Tio Hernandez and Jehei talked to Paez and Vargas after the mix-up they had in the outfield last night. Yeah, that's just Miguel Vargas trying to do a little bit too much, but then Tio Hernandez goes and cuts off a center fielder and catches one right in front of a center fielder a couple innings later. So, yeah, I mean, Andy was trying to explain, I'm the freaking center fielder and I called the ball. I mean, there's nothing really to talk about there. I mean, I suppose, yeah. I mean, that was an interesting deal. It was just Miguel Vargas who was trying to do too much and probably didn't hear Andy Paez. Certainly didn't see him. I know that on the broadcast, the guys were saying, EK was saying that Andy Paez needed to keep his arm out, and he's right, but I don't think Miguel Vargas would have seen him, because if you're Miguel Vargas right now and you just got called back up after an unsuccessful first round in the major leagues, you're so locked in, I doubt you're going to see Andy Paez's arm there. And again, you're just going to go try and make a play. Joe Renteria, is it me or does Mookie look unhappy at shortstop? I don't think there's any doubt about it. Joe, that's a great question. I don't think there's any doubt about it that he would rather be at second base. Concerned about the platoon, the outfielders. Mr. Seabat, I'm going to just go ahead and say this is going to sound like an excuse, and it probably is, so take it for what it's worth. I really think that the platooning thing with James Outman got into his head early on. I mean, you mentioned, if you go back to our interview with James Outman over the offseason, one of the big themes he had was it felt great that the club had my back. Well, then you come in off of the type of season he had last year, which would warrant over $30 million on a walk year, right? And then immediately the club's telling you you're going to have to platoon because we don't think you're good enough to play every day. I think that was a negative vibe that the organization gave him right off the bat, and I think that put him in press mode, like, well, I guess the organization doesn't quite believe in me the way that I thought they did. So I think that platoon thing, I don't think it's been a good thing. I don't think it's been a good thing at all for James Outman. It hasn't been good for Chris Taylor. I don't think it's been good for Kike Hernandez. I don't like it at all. Put the guys out there, let them get comfortable to both hands, and put the best hitters that you have in the lineup. Hey, Jerry Hunter, I know it would hurt, but bullpen depth, but I hope they go to a 6-man rotation. Again, you can't. It's numbers. I know people say 6-man, 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 but you're not adding, unless you're adding a 14th pitcher, you're not helping things. Because if you add a starter, then you're removing a bullpen piece, okay? So you're not, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're not actually solving a problem. So instead of a 6-man rotation, what you do is you bring up Landon Knack every now and then. You bring up bullpen arms every now and then for a bullpen game. So now you have basically a 6-man rotation, and you're not doing it by making your bullpen so thin that they are getting taxed. So what the creative way the Dodgers are doing it is the absolute best way to give their pitchers the most amount of reps possible. A 6-man rotation with a set 26-man roster with the same 13 guys on there would mean at that point now you only have 7 relievers instead of 8. And now, I mean, you're talking about Daniel Hudson maybe having to pitch on 3 days in a row, stuff like that. So the 6-man rotation itself with a set 26 wouldn't work, okay? Although the Dodgers are going 6 innings. But it does work in a quasi way whenever you're bringing guys back and forth to keep fresh arms on the 26. And that's how they've gone and done it there. Okay, hey, Kenny Chung says agreed the platoon strategy is awful. Brett Rose, thank you so much for saying more likes for Casey. Yeah, we have a wonderful lobby, 41 likes. Platooning is like Dave trying to please every player. I totally agree with that, Mr. Classic. That is a great comment. I totally agree with that. That's simply fantastic. Bofa D says they basically use a 6-man every time they don't get a day off on Monday and Thursday. That's exactly right. Hey, Kenny Chung, you don't see the Phillies and Braves using the platoon system. I agree with that. Roy Estrada, Ela Shiva, the lineup has been doing pretty good. Without Muncy, to be honest, Dave even said yesterday's lineup 1 through 9 was the best this year. Jerry Hunter, who would be your 5 starters when Miller and Kershaw come back? Yeah, well, you're not. I wouldn't send Gavin Stone down. So you have Yamamoto, you have Glass now, you have Gavin Stone, you have James Paxton, and then I'm having a brain cramp here. Somebody help me out here. And then so Gavin Stone, Paxton, Yamamoto, and Glass now, and then I think at that point if it was and then you have Buehler. Oh, Buehler. Duh. Yeah, brain cramp. So there they are. I think at this point, what's probably going to happen is Bobby Miller is going to come in. But I think they're going to slow play that because of that. And then Gavin Stone kind of turns into the right-handed version of Ryan Yarbrough. And then he becomes your bulk inning guy, your piggyback guy, your up-down guy, and Bobby Miller slides in. I think Clayton Kershaw spot starts on your bullpen games. I think he possibly gives you the ability to have another left-handed reliever, but I don't think he just slides right into the rotation. I think you get creative in getting him. You say, okay, you don't say, hey, does he join the rotation? You say, how many starts do we want Clayton Kershaw to have? So then you look at your schedule and you say, well, we have an off day here. Then so we can use a bullpen game here, a piggyback game there, a bulk inning game here, and we can get Clayton Kershaw all of his starts that he needs without officially declaring that he is one of the 5 pitchers in the rotation. So I think Bobby Miller goes in. I think Gavin Stone becomes a Swiss Army knife. I think that at that point, Clayton Kershaw becomes a guy that you get creative with to get a certain amount of starts in, and that's exactly how you map it out. That's at least how I would do it. Hey, Ela Shiva says, agreed regarding platooning Outman. In interviews, Doc said he wasn't platooning Outman when he clearly was. If Doc said he wasn't platooning Outman, then that's just not true. But anyways, hey, Roy Estrada, that's what Mookie, with Mookie, yeah. Jose Ayala, Casey couldn't agree with you more on platooning players. Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, hey, I say a lot of things that are just on my mind, and a lot of people disagree with me. That's fine, and I love that, but that's why we have this show, is to give our opinion on things, right? Hey, Bofa Deuce, if everyone is healthy at some point, I see Miller in the bullpen. Max Effort says Dodgers have 8 starters. Yeah, that's a good problem to have, is to have too much depth. Hey, Mr. Seabad, it's agreed Dodgers Dawgs, the platoon of players needs to cease fire. I'll talk to Dave. Yeah. Hey, Mr. Classic, Kershaw may have starting issues when he comes back. He's got to get used to major league level after that shoulder surgery. Absolutely, totally agree with that. So, hey, I have a few more notes on here. Actually, I don't. I've gotten through all of my notes. Roberts is more concerned with the media than winning. Hey, that's, again, Roy, I'm not, or B-Roo, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I will say, though, I am proud of the organization for being in results mode. It hurts to see what happened to James Albin. It is what it is. But if I want the organization, if I want to bitch and moan in the offseason about not being results-oriented enough, I can't then bitch and moan that they're acting in a results-based way and sending James Outman down. I can't do it both ways. I would be speaking out both sides of my mouth, and I can't do it. So, yes, it hurts. Yes, it sucks. Yes, I wasn't looking forward to it. All of that. But at the same time, I want the Dodgers to win a World Series above all. I want this organization to make the decisions that help them do that. That goes above any individual. And from that aspect, I'm proud of the organization for making difficult decisions, for being more results-based, and getting this going. Yeah, are you concerned about Freeman's lack of power? I'm never concerned about Freddie Freeman at all. Freddie Freeman, for some reason, Craig says, hits better in the second spot. So, hey, that's all of my notes as far as the LA side of things. What we're going to do now is that we are going to cut over to the Down on the Farm segment. Hey, stick with this. It's about 20 minutes. Again, we have Kenny George, we have Josue De Paula, Dalton Rushing, Diego Cartaya, Drew Pomeranz, Chris Newell hitting bombs, Alex Freeland with the walk-offs, Taylor Young stealing bases. We have all sorts of great stuff coming to you from Down on the Farm. So here we go. Well, let's not waste more time. Let's get right to it, and let's take a trip down on the farm. Well, let me cut back because that actually did not play, and let me get that media source back on here, and let me get it here just for a second. And then if it doesn't play here, then, okay, I'm going to cut back to me. I'm going to go ahead and play it from a different way of doing this. Give me just a second. I know this is like amateur hour. All right, here we go. All right, we're going to get to Down on the Farm right here, and away we go there. With Rancho Cucamonga and, hey, one of my favorites, Kendall George. Talk about mad skills. This dude, we all know he can run. We know he can bunt. We've seen that a couple of times. We know he hits the ball to the opposite field. He definitely concentrates on just getting the ball in play. Watch this. Hey, this is a routine ball to the left fielder, first to third for Kendall George. How about that? So, hey, it's not just with his offensive game. Again, he's just trying to hit the ball hard. He's trying to hit the middle of the baseball. Doesn't care if it's a fly ball. Doesn't care if it's on the ground. Hit the ball somewhere. Put it forward in fair territory and use your speed. And more times than not, just like that, just slap one into left field. That does look like Brett Butler there. The shortstop had absolutely no chance. Also, as you can see, starting to get a lot of confidence at the professional level. He's starting to get really excited about playing every single day. There's another shot right up the middle. So you've seen a hit to left field. You've seen a hit to right field. Now you see a hit up the middle. You got to see him go first to third on a routine ball to left field. Kendall George, what a player he is. Well, it took Josue De Paula a little over 20 games to get his first home run. And as of Saturday, he had hit home runs in 3 games in a row for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. And he actually hit 2 home runs in Friday night's game. This dude can hit. We know Josue De Paula. He has the great hit tool. He hits the ball the other way. He hits good line drives. The question is he going to get the ball in the air enough to hit enough home runs? Well, he is on a home run tear right now. That's what he does the best right there, to be honest with you. Just stays inside the ball, shoots the ball the other way. There is Kendall George again going first to third. You saw that just a minute ago. And another thing about Josue De Paula right there, hey, Los Angeles Dodgers fans, they love the Showtime. They, the old Lakers teams, they're in the fabulous form. They like for their teams not only to win and to be good, but they like for them to be fun and to have a Hollywood type style to them. Josue De Paula has that. He has, I believe his uncle is Stephon Marbury, and he has, people that he knows that are very close to him family wise that have played at the highest levels. So right there you see, hey, he knows how to put on a show. He embraces just kind of the Showtime part of it. So that aspect too, not only is Josue De Paula good, but also I think he is going to embrace that LA style of player that the Dodgers fans like. So Sway DePaula, a lot to like, especially about how he's been playing this weekend. Robinson Ortiz has been nothing straight of fantastic. That is the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. That's them and their Cicadas outfit right there. That's Joe Vitrano. Robinson Ortiz, the thing about him, we mentioned he'd been injured the last couple of years. He was a really high prospect, kind of on the same injury train as Carlos Rodon. He has good velo, but the thing about him is it comes out on such a plane to lefties that it comes out behind them, and it really makes it just kind of his arm slot, makes it very difficult to pick the ball up and to really barrel up, even for right-handers too. So, hey, Robinson Ortiz has been really good for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. It's great to see him back and doing his thing. Matter of fact, 2 innings pitched for Rancho, 1 hit, no runs, no strikeouts, and 2 walks. As a matter of fact, Robinson Ortiz has yet to allow a run in his 4 outings. That spans 7 total innings. So good to see him not get there. To see that, the tumble of that ball, that's really, really good. Really wicked left-handed slider right there, and then also good to righties. It's good to see him back. It's also good to see him get multiple innings. I think that's a good sign as well, coming off of all the injuries he's had. So Robinson Ortiz, we'll see how he keeps getting incorporated into the system. Here is Tyrone Lorenzo. This is 3-2-1, a liftoff for the young catching prospect. That ball right there left the stadium. Look at that. That is in Dayton, Ohio. That is a massive home run. It was hit well over 400 feet. Exit velo on that was 110 miles an hour. I've showed you also how he has popped underneath a 1.8. So how about the home run left-handed? If that wasn't good enough for you, how about a home run right-handed as well? So 2 home runs today for the catching prospect for the Dodgers. That has just a tremendous amount of talent. A young man that is all over the top prospects list. Tyrone Lorenzo, a home run both right-handed and left-handed today for Great Lakes. This is Chris Campos right here, and he put out another good outing his last time out. 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, just 1 run, 4 strikeouts, and no walks. How about this? Chris Campos, the shortstop, convert to the pitcher's mound. Remember, he was a starting shortstop at St. Mary's College, while Hobbsy was the closer there. Campos has an ERA of just 1.89. He has 22 strikeouts, just 3 walks. So mention the shortstop part. I always talk about that with him. That means he is a plus athlete. He has a plus slider that he really refined over the offseason. Good movement to his fastball, so he's able to move it off. There's that slider, that plus slider. Good fastball with good movement on it to move it off of barrels. Super, super competitive, kind of a cutterish looking pitch there. And so, hey, this is a guy, Chris Campos, he likes to use the top of the zone too. This is a guy that's building a ton of momentum in the organization. So stay tuned. And like I said, hey, not huge. You might look at him and you might go, well, he doesn't look all that big. Kind of has, I've said this a couple of different times, kind of has that Gavin Stone type feel to him, where you look at him, he's not overly impressive physically. You look at his stuff, he's not throwing at 2,000 miles an hour, but the next thing you know, he has 2 or 3 plus pitches. He's a plus athlete and a plus competitor, and he becomes one of the best pitchers in your organization. So it just feels like Chris Campos is on that arc right now, so stay tuned for him. I told you about a week or so ago that I had dropped the ball on Kelvin Ramirez. I told you I would not do that again. Well, here he is, and he was very, very impressive for Great Lakes over the weekend. Touched 98. He actually had a couple of outings. Changeup, you're going to see it here in a minute, was tumbling like crazy. I mean, Kelvin Ramirez reaching 98 with the north fastball, then a good changeup that was tumbling. Actually struck out the side in his outing on, that would have been Friday, and his ERA, he moved it down to 106. And then today, through 2 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, 1 strikeout, and just 1 walk. So, hey, Kelvin Ramirez has been absolutely automatic so far this year. ERA now, I said 106 on Friday. With his outing today on Sunday, Ramirez's ERA is down to 0.95. His whip is down to 0.79, and he's allowed single runs in just 2 out of his 4 outings. He's a long, tall drink of water. The ball comes out very high, so it has a lot of vertical downward movement to it, which makes it very difficult to hit to begin with. Then he has the good changeup and a fastball that is hitting 98. So Kelvin Ramirez doing a really good job. Check out this home run. Wow, that's Chris Newell, and that is an absolute bomb right there. I mean, even like the Dayton, by the way, this is a very edgy, if you don't know. This has become a really great rivalry. Dayton, they do just a tremendous job. You see that crowd there? That's every night for them. They pack in 7, 8, 9,000 people. And this rivalry between the Great Lakes Loons and the Dayton Dragons has become very heated. Matter of fact, there is a little bench clearing. I don't want to call it a brawl because there weren't any punches. It certainly wasn't any kind of fight or anything. But the benches did clear, and you have that. There were 2 different appeals. One was on a home run that Chris Newell hit, I believe, on Friday or Saturday, where the Great Lakes, or excuse me, the Dayton manager actually appealed that he thought Chris Newell missed third base. They played the playback, and it was obvious that he hit it. They also appealed another one saying that a runner left early on a fly ball, that was denied. And then he also came out and argued a throw down to second base where the runner was easily out. So really, to be honest with you, I mean, it was heated, and it was a fun weekend. And to the announcers' credit, they gave the entire weekend credit. They were very positive about the Great Lakes Loons, and I say all that to say, when Chris Newell hit this home run, they were both like, oh, wow, that's an absolute bomb. That was very, very impressive, and it was. Chris Newell, this was his league-leading 10th home run on the season, and here is another home run here. Bam, look at that league-leading 10th home run. Hits in 6 games in a row, hits in 8 of his last 9, and off to a slow start from a batting average perspective, but it is climbing. And despite the lower batting average, his WRC plus is 129, and it is continuing to climb, so he's definitely doing damage. His OPS is 841, and he also has 5 stolen bases. Keep in mind, not only can Chris Newell hit bombs like you saw right there, he can also steal bases. He has 5 stolen bases on the year. He had 15 last year, and don't forget, he was the all-time stolen base leader at the University of Virginia as far as in his postseason career. He had 37 stolen bases it wasn't 37 stolen bases. He actually had, I believe it was like 9 or 10. Don't quote me on that number, but he's the all-time stolen base leader for the postseason for the University of Virginia, and he had 37 total stolen bases there with the Wahoos. So Chris Newell, big power, big speed, big-time base stealer, lots of tools. This is Jermaine Rosario. We always talk about, hey, he's one of those guys that working on his sequencing and execution, but look at that slider there, breaking ball, whatever you want to call it. It's big. I mean, he has really big stuff. I always talk about just how good his stuff is, and when he is executing and getting the ball in the zone and commanding his pitches, he is a very good professional pitcher. 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, no walks. So, hey, this was a great outing for Jermaine Rosario, who still is a little bit up and down, but recently has been an up, always been explosive. He had 6 strikeouts. The no walks is the big part of this for Jermaine Rosario, because when he is in the zone, he gets outs. It's as simple as that. All right, I've been talking lately about Diego Cartaya and the home runs that he's been hitting. Here you see him actually throw a runner out. I've showed you that a couple times. I have mentioned in the past how hard he has worked on throwing the ball down to second base. I did this with my editing program, and it is unofficial, but I can tell you this is a 1.9 pop time, and anything below 2.0 is very, very, very good. So Diego Cartaya, want to show you his strong throwing arm and just kind of remind you of the big tools this young man still has. He's hitting home runs. His offense is starting to show signs of coming around at least a little bit, and there is the big arm. 1.9 pop time. Alex Freeland and all of his big talent. Look at that. That is an absolute bomb. You can see he gave the Drillers the lead here in the 3rd inning. 2-1, and then as you're going to see here in just a second, he also gave the Drillers the lead on the last at bat of the game. with a walk-off. Home run number 4 overall and his second with Tulsa, and he had 5 hits over the weekend, did Alex Freeland. There's the walk-off right there. And by the way, the Tulsa Drillers lost the first 3 games of this series, and they were just stumbling around, just having a difficult time, and then won the last 3, and it finished off the week with this walk-off. So that was a whole lot of fun. Alex Freeland and his big talent gave the Drillers the lead twice today. The last time was right there with a walk-off. Left-hander Justin Robleski was reaching almost 100 miles an hour, man. He was absolutely sick. This is a guy with 7 different pitches. This is a guy that puts together his own game plans because he is so confident and he's so detailed into all of the things that he needs to do, both physically from a body perspective, the nutrition he needs to put into his body, the type of sleep that he needs to get, the type of workouts he needs to do, but also the mental part of the game and game planning. He is so detailed that it's like, dude, just go ahead and have as much of that as you possibly can. And when you have that big of a mix and you can execute the way that Justin Robleski did, that is a guy that has big time potential. It's why he has entered a lot of the Dodgers top 30 prospects list and why he has turned a lot of heads as of late. Again, Justin Robleski, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run, 9 strikeouts, just 1 walk. And again, almost reached 100 miles an hour, million different pitches. Love this young man. Stay tuned for him because he is going to be a very, very, very good major leaguer as long as he can stay healthy. Justin Robleski. So this is actually Jack Little pitching here, but he's pitching to Dalton Rushing, and Dalton Rushing's the one that I want you to notice, both Dalton Rushing and Jack Little. Jack Little is another guy that's rushing it up there. Almost 100 miles an hour, went to Stanford, has been fighting injury the last year or 2, but another guy that's very competitive and can really rush the ball up to home plate. But watch Dalton Rushing, man. This dude is absolutely fiery. I want Dalton Rushing on my team. Good slider there. Dalton Rushing injected confidence. He injected a lot of just energy and fire into Jack Little, who, if you listen to the broadcast, the wonderful play-by-play voice Dennis Higgins mentions, hey, Jack Little is not a very emotional guy. He's a guy that usually keeps it really even keel, but not with Dalton Rushing catching. Look at that fire. And look at Jack Little. You can tell he's feeding off of all the energy and the passion that Dalton Rushing, as his catcher, is feeding into him. And why do I say that? That's because in the post-game interview that Bruce Howard did, he actually asked that question. Jack Little said, hey, Dalton Rushing came up to me right there. Look at that. I love it right there. I'm still fired up about that. That was Saturday night, by the way. Jack Little point blank said that Dalton Rushing came up. He hit me in the chest and said, show me what you got. And at that point, I wanted to show him what I had. And he fired me up. So Dalton Rushing, absolute emotional leader on the field. Fiery. He is an absolute dog, and I wanted to show you that right there. Moving now to AAA Oklahoma City, this is Andre Lipsius, who has been a just tremendous offensive player for the AAA Oklahoma City Dodgers. No doubt about that. From day one, I mean, he had the big, absolute huge weekend in Tacoma to start the season off with, and then he has just continued to hit ever since. So Andre Lipsius, a guy that I know he came over in a trade from the Tigers. He's a guy that the Dodgers really like. He's a guy that's versatile, a guy that can play every day, and not just is he hitting really well, okay? He's hitting .368 so far this month of May. He's also hit home runs. He's already hit 12 home runs and 8 doubles. Now, I know it's the PCL. There are locations that have high altitude, so you do definitely have to be careful about power numbers, right? But this dude, I'm just telling you, he is playing legit offense. He is hitting the ball very well. He's a guy that I do think the Dodgers will give consideration for. You know how the Dodgers like to do the up-down train thing, man. They like to just kind of use these guys for different roles just to see what they got. And, as they're going to have this big lead in the NL West, hey, let's see all the depth we have. I think he's a definite candidate maybe to have that type of role to show what he can do at the major league level. So keep your eye on Andre Lipsius. Another guy I think you need to keep your eye on pretty close is Drew Pomeranz. Drew Pomeranz, this guy right here, a bunch. As a matter of fact, 858 and a third major league innings. One of those quad A guys right now. Of course, he's a major league pitcher overall for his career, but at this point, right this second, a quad A guy, meaning he's a guy that definitely has major league skills, major league experience, but he is in AAA, so he's kind of in between right now. 2 innings pitched today for AAA Oklahoma City. Gave up 1 hit, no runs, and had 5 strikeouts, no walks. So a definite professional pitcher that will go out there, give you a professional outing, make the other team beat him, and he knows what a major league environment and a major league clubhouse is like. Those are the kind of guys we know that the Dodgers love. I would be shocked if Drew Pomeranz is not given a chance to have, I mentioned this with Justin Wilson. I still think that would have happened. We see Justin Wilson is getting a lot of major league innings right now, and he was hoping that was going to happen sooner with the Dodgers, but the Dodgers are just so loaded. I think Drew Pomeranz took that Justin Wilson role, and the Dodgers, I think, at some point are going to give him a look at the major league level. So keep your radar out for Drew Pomeranz. Last guy we're going to cover today, one of my favorites, and the young man, the lefty out of Madera, California, the Central Valley, who was back home in his state of California, of which this time last year when he went back to Sacramento, which is where they're at today, he had so many people. He had I think it was 150 people in the stands that came to watch him from Madera. He was so fired up that he reached 99. Now, today was a little bit different. He didn't reach 99. You see the 95 right there. That's typically what Alec Gamboa hits. I just really wish the Dodgers would give him, John Rooney, guys like that chances. Hey, I know that the Anthony Banda type guys and Nick Ramirez's, fine, hey, whatever. Nothing against them. I don't know them hardly at all. But I really feel like Alec Gamboa, John Rooney have earned those opportunities that the Dodgers are bypassing them by. Just my opinion, so take that for what it's worth. But if you're Alec Gamboa, you just got to keep doing what he has been doing, and that is control what you can control. So definitely did that today. Had a scoreless outing for AAA Oklahoma City, Alec Gamboa. Back on. There you have it. There is the Down on the Farm segment. I know we had a couple of questions. One was about Kevin Padlos, and the other one was about Chris Owings. Kevin Padlo had a tremendous spring training, no doubt about that. As a matter of fact, in spring training this year, he hit for a total. Let me actually get this up here, and let's just do it this way. Okay, so this year so far, Kevin Padlo, he got off to a really, really good start, and then let me get back to his game logs here. So he got off to a good start, and then this is actually showing me there we go, regular season. Got off to a good start, and then has kind of hit a rough patch here as of late. In May, he is hitting .203, so if you look, he is 1 for his last 13. He had a 2-hit game on May the 15th, and before that, he was 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for 40, something like that. So the month of May has been a little bit slow for Kevin Padlo, but we know he has the big power, the quick hands, and the really short swing. As far as Chris Owings, it hasn't necessarily been good. It hasn't been bad. It's just been kind of consistently okay. I mean, what got Andy Paez up to the major leagues was, he was doing so good that the organization went, oh, dude, we got to bring this guy up, right? This guy's just killing it. So it's not like Chris Owings is doing bad or anything. It's just like he's not doing good enough to justify him having any one of the spots on the 26-man roster. So that's kind of where he's at this point. So, hey, I'm excited to see that kid throw 103 miles an hour. Yeah, that would be Ronaldo Yeen. That was a lot of fun. Matter of fact, he actually hit 104 the other day. I think Tim Rogers of Dodgers 2080, we were just talking about him. I think he was actually there for it. Don't quote me on that, but I do think he was there for it, so that was super exciting. So, yeah, if you have any more questions, I've gone through all of my notes for today's show. I'll hang out for another couple of minutes. My Dodgers dogs are swarming me right now. I think they're ready for Daddy to take them on their third walk of the day. Got 2 little beautiful pit bulls that we love to go out and take for a walk. But if you don't have any more questions, I think that's going to be it for me for the day. So, hey, man, this has been a great show. I can't thank everybody for coming in and joining the show. We had just one of our best crowds we've had in a long, long time. I say this each and every time. You guys are the best. It's just so flattering when I put on one of these and people show up and they want to talk Dodgers baseball on this platform that Austin and I created basically from the ground up. So we cannot thank you. We cannot thank you more for everything that you guys do for Dodgers Dawgs and then specifically Dodgers Daily. So until next time, hopefully Austin gets to join tomorrow evening. That's not confirmed, but I think Austin is scheduled to go on tomorrow. I take Mondays off, but I will be talking to you on Tuesday morning. Hopefully I can get Austin to join me for that, or Coach Holder, somebody like that. And so until next time, I want to thank you for tuning in and say, go Dodgers.